Richard Holmes-Williams, though, had similar pace to Will Howarth in qualifying, and the two were swapping and changing in the qualifying rankings. So we should see an interesting race here between those two. Will Howarth versus Richard Holmes-Williams on the front row. Second row of the grid, Josh Darter and Justin Bainbridge. Third row of the grid, Paul Nicholls and Ryan Grant. Getting underway then with race one, loads of creeping. There were at least 3 riders out of their grid positions by the time the race got underway. That's ended up not really working in anyone's favour in particular. Will Howarth has made the break. The top 2 have been able to pull clear, so those few riders from the second and third rows of the grid basically making a rolling start there. Haven't really gained too much out of it. Instead, they've ended up dropping back somewhat as the top 2 blast clear, and it's Will Howarth and Richard Holmes-Williams who we expect the duel to come from. They were well over a second clear of Josh Darter and Justin Bainbridge per lap in qualifying. So no great surprises then that they've pulled well clear in this race number 1 in the senior mini-motos. It's Will Howarth then and Richard Holmes-Williams coming in to complete lap number 1 with Howarth out in front, Holmes-Williams in P2. Close for third position between Josh Darter and Paul Nicholls. Nicholls having gained a position on that opening lap in respect of his grid position, and now could do with making it up into the podium places. As I said, when the main championship rivals of the current series leader Will Howarth are starting so far down on the grid, the best thing they can do is try and make up positions and get as close to him as possible, so that if Howarth does go on to make an error or does go on to have an issue at a remaining round, they can at least be close enough to pounce. At the moment, Richard Holmes-Williams isn't close enough to pounce. He's almost a second back from Will Howarth out in front. It's Howarth leading the way, ahead of Holmes-Williams in second, Josh Darter in third. That's still the closest battle, third and fourth positions between Josh Darter and Paul Nicholls. Darter comes into this round on 27 championship points. Double-figure scorer in 2 of the 3 races in Clandau. He's getting very close now for third and fourth positions, but not quite any position changes. Nicholls still trying to find a way through against Josh Darter. Separate races further down the order for 7th, 8th and 9th positions. There's a pack of 4 riders. But the race lead is unchanged. That's still Will Howarth out in front ahead of Richard Holmes-Williams in second position. Still the race is on for third place between Josh Darter and Paul Nicholls. They're side by side coming down towards the bottom end of the circuit. Let's see who's bravest as they come over the start-finish line once again. Well, briefly there, Paul Nicholls made it through, but ended up getting relegated back behind Josh Darter as they came over the start-finish line. Less than a tenth of a second between them, but you don't need me to tell you that. They're as close as you could possibly imagine as they come round the 180. It seems as though Darter has the acceleration in a straight line and Nicholls has the cornering speed, and that worked for Nicholls as a way to get through down into the bottom turn. Again, they're close around the top turn and through the S's, but not quite side by side, which is what we'd need to see for an overtaking manoeuvre from Paul Nicholls. A new fastest lap of the race from Will Howarth, followed immediately by a new fastest lap of the race from Richard Holmes-Williams. Still less than a second between those two. They're well clear now of the rest of the pack. Josh Darter and Paul Nicholls. Nicholls having got the better of Darter once again on that lap, but still less than a tenth between those two. And that's where the race is for third and fourth positions. The final step on the podium in race number 1. Holmes-Williams gaining a tenth of a second on Will Howarth on that last lap. But third and fourth positions between Paul Nicholls and Josh Darter. Nicholls with the upper hand for the moment. Again, they're side by side, and again we've got a position change down the main straight, but not quite. Watching the number 24 bike hold on at the moment. Nicholls, as I said, with the cornering speed, and Darter with the straight line speed, seemingly. Howarth with a new fastest lap of the race out in front continues to hold the race lead as we come down towards the bottom end of the circuit in the race for a third position. It's Paul Nicholls who holds the place, but again Darter has the straight line speed and gains right up on him going down to turn number 1. He couldn't get up the inside, though. Nichols is wary enough to know that he needs to block, and did so coming off the final turn at the bottom end of the circuit. Through Paddock Bend, past the pit entry and onto the start-finish straight. Coming through the left-hander and onto what is probably the longest straight on the circuit. Again, trying to have a look up the inside, Josh Darter, but it's Nichols who holds the place. No change up front. Will Howarth was able to break clear on lap number 5, and despite a new fastest lap of the race from Richard Holmes-Williams, that gap isn't going anywhere anytime soon. Still over a second between them. And still the race is for 3rd position. Still it's Paul Nichols who holds on. Let's see if Darter's got the answer down the home straight this time. He's going wider. He's going to try and pull alongside, but not quite. Nichols doesn't have the same straight line speed. There's no doubt about that. It's Josh Darter who has the advantage there. A new personal best last time around from both of those riders in their race for 3rd. 5th and 6th positions behind them, starting to drop back. It's Matt Birkin and Andy Whedon in 5th and 6th places. Whedon with a new personal best last lap around, and actually that time was faster than anyone right the way up to P2. Side by side once again for 3rd position. Paul Nichols versus Josh Darter. This has been quite some battle. Will Howarth with another new fastest lap of the race out in front, and I think that's ended the race-leading squabble as a serious contest. But the race for 3rd has still got some mileage. Nichols holding on. Darter right on his tail, as close as he's been. Nichols looking to block. Darter coming down the inside anyway. Has to back out of it because Nichols had moved to block, and that was a good move once again from Paul Nichols. He's getting smart about his blocking here. Darter is clearly the faster rider. He set himself up well for a cutback coming off the final turn to look to the inside line, but Nichols just moved left down the straight to hold on to the position. And that's what it's going to take in the run down to the latter stages of this race as they come around the outside of a back marker who thankfully looks over his shoulder and sees them coming through. Darter alongside once again into the top bend. This time he's completely alongside and makes the pass. Josh Darter through for 3rd position. Paul Nichols dropping down to 4th place, but making the cutback and coming back through again. Nichols versus Darter, side by side down towards Paddock Bend. And it's Darter who moves to block. Can Nichols make the cut back off the final turn and onto the main straight? He does go for the inside. Darter's on the outside. Darter has the racing line back down into turn number 1. And that's a well-crafted move from Josh Darter with a new personal best lap. Nichols, though, comes again down the inside into the chicane to make the pass. So still it's 3rd and 4th positions absolutely going at it. Josh Darter versus Paul Nichols. Nichols has been most stubborn in his defence of P3. Looking further back, Matt Birkin has just about held off Andy Whedon with a new personal best lap last time around, but the battle between the 5 and 7 bikes could be one where we may see a position change in the latter stages, because Whedon has been coming after Matt Birkin, gaining ground lap after lap, small margins in it, 0.3 of a second a lap being gained, and that may even be a position change coming back down towards Paddock. It's certainly Josh Darter still in front of Paul Nichols as they come in to complete lap number 9, but it's still only just between those two as we go into the final lap, and it's still only just for 5th position as well. Matt Birkin, though, gaining a little bit of ground on Andy Whedon that last lap, so Whedon's progress may have been halted there as he sits in 6th position. Watch for P3 as they come up behind Justin Bainbridge to put a lap on the number 11 bike. The checkered flag falls for the race leader, who now becomes race winner, Will Howarth, ahead of Richard Holmes-Williams. But 3rd and 4th positions are still coming around the top end of the circuit. At the moment, it's Paul Nichols with Josh Darter. And it's Darter who leads them down towards Paddock Bend. Can Nichols do anything special in the run down to the line? He's almost alongside. He's blocked out. Will he get the cutback? No, he's trying to carry his momentum around the outside, but Darter moves to block, and that was a fascinating race between Josh Darter and Paul Nichols. Nichols held the position for the majority of the race. Darter was eventually quite forthright in finding his way through, but although he was aggressive, Nichols then came back down the inside.